Hey, I'm Scott.
And I'm Chris.
And this is Doxologic, where we help you think with your Bible.
This one has a few questions wrapped up in here. How should tithing be approached for a married couple if the woman attends church and the husband does not? Would it be appropriate if the woman has a job outside of the home to tithe from her income? What if the husband did not approve of her tithing?
Okay, so there's a lot there. The first question was,
how should tithing be approached for a married couple if the woman goes to church? And
well, there was two questions.
Yeah.
I was going to stop the very first one and just say simply together, okay? How should it be approached? It should be approached together. Then from there we go on to the more complicated and nuanced ones.
Right.
She didn't say a non-Christian husband, but a husband. Well, I think it was a she, right? Because she's referencing.
Well, she mentioned unbeliever.
Is that right?
No,
it did not. Just he doesn't go to church.
right.
Which we may very
Got
well
it.
infer not a believer.
That I'm automatically translating that to unbeliever, but there's obviously Christians that don't go to church. It's just
sure. But if he's putting his foot down on the giving thing, I would lean probably into either very, very wayward and immature understanding regarding why she wants to do this, or more likely married to an unbeliever. So I think we should probably just pick one and answer it that way.
I think you picked the one that
you're married to an unbeliever, and he doesn't go to church, doesn't want to give to the church. First and foremost, just compassion to the situation because it's a sad one.
Yeah, it's not ideal. Obviously, you wouldn't want to be in that circumstance. Our heart goes out to this individual, and it can be complex when you're in a divided home from a Christian perspective. This can be complex, and so there's a whole lot of things woven within this that can even undermine the foundation of the marriage, or can really lay heavy on the guilt of the wife if she is forbidden from giving and now feels like she's disobeying God because she can't do two at the same time. Can't obey my husband who doesn't want to have any part of that, and trying to commit to oneness with him, and at the same time, if I don't give, then I'm sinning against the Lord. And so it's a complicated situation. And I would, as much as you can, seek to be united in the home. I do understand the principle, especially if you're working two separate jobs, whereas you have an income and your husband has an income, that you would seemingly have a right to be able to do with what you make what you want to do. But I would want to try to make that as clearly communicated and streamlined within the home as possible, helping him to understand that piece of it. And I would still lean towards trying to set up biblical patterns for your life, even if he doesn't like those biblical patterns, and do your best to, in every other way, that there are appropriate means of trying to get to a common ground with an unbeliever. Just being willing to do that, not sticking your stake in the ground for every single issue, but instead going, here are some things about my life as a believer that I am committed to, and I have a job that I am committed to outside of you working. So it's not like your specific money, even though, of course, in the home, you never would counsel someone in a premarital to have separate accounts, or very rarely would you ever do that. You would want them to pool their money together. In this scenario, I get it. And it can be a situation where you set up these boundaries. Hey, I know you don't like maybe when I read the Bible, or I know you don't like when we pray, or I pray, or I know you don't like when I go to church because that leaves you home by yourself on a Sunday, or I serve in the afternoon and so it's the whole day, or whatever. But I wouldn't stop doing those things that you feel committed to as a Christian just because they're upset about those things. I would just try to limit the things he's upset about to those Christian convictions that should be in your life. And certainly just understanding, and me answering that question, I don't want it to seem like if that's not the way this goes, you're being unfaithful. And we would be glad if this is someone that's walking in this actually to follow up more specifically to the situation, because sometimes it's hard to answer a question on here when it's serious, and I can almost feel the weight of it without knowing the person and sitting in the room with them and figuring out their actual scenario.
That's good.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys. You've been listening to Doxologic, a podcast by Doxa Church in Rocklin, California. To learn more, visit doxachurch.net.